Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha, Om Shri Ganeshaya Namaha, Om Shri Saraswataya Namaha, Om Shri Guru Dattatreya Namaha, Om Shri Mahalakshmi Namaha, Gurur Brahma, Gurur Vishnu, Gurur Devo Maheshwaraha, Gurur Sakshat Parabrahma, Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. So we'll be continuing Shri Eknathi Bhagavad, chapter 2, verse 77. One who has turned away from the Lord loses the memory of his real self due to his Maya and falls prey to the mistaken belief that he is the body. He is then seized by the fire caused by duality, which is the identification with the other thing than the self. Therefore, the wise should worship God by only the devotion, believing that he himself as Atman, his Guru and the God are one. So now we have completed sub-verse 493. Today we will be starting from the Eknath Bhagavad, chapter 2, verse 77 and sub-verse 494 onwards. So, God fulfills all the desires of the person who has utter devotion for the feet of the Guru, because the orders of the Guru are obeyed by even the God. If the Guru orders, the God will definitely emancipate even the dull and the foolish persons. This is a very, very important lesson. So what is Eknath Maharaj saying here? He's telling God fulfills all the desires of the person. But to whom? Who has utter devotion to the feet of the, who has utter devotion for the feet of the Guru. But how does this work? Now we understood in the last verse how Guru is the only one or to whom you have to have the great faith. And it's only when you have this great faith, the mind of the disciple automatically becomes pure. Now here also what is he saying? God fulfills all the desires of the devotee or the disciple or the person who has utter devotion for the feet of the Guru, which is nothing but it is the absolute faith. And in the previous verse we learned it is only with great faith. So here also it is being said, with the devotion, God will fulfill all the desires that you have. Then, because the orders of the Guru are obeyed by even the God. Means what? The orders of the Guru are obeyed even by the God. See, I told you, whether it is Prakriti, Maya Devi, the Ashtasiddhis, all the gods and goddesses, you name it, the entire universe, the Brahmand, everybody, the Yogini Ganas, everyone are awaiting to serve the Guru's orders. They're always waiting at the, around. They're all around the divine master, waiting for his one command to serve, to serve this universe, to serve his command alone. So they're always eagerly awaiting. That is why it is very important that we have to be very careful what is that we say in front of a Guru. Because it is not Guru himself listening, this entire universe is listening, and they will do exactly whatever you are asking. See, everybody comes and expresses a desire with the Guru. So when you express your desire, what does the Guru do? He is not personally going to grant. Please understand, he's only the final approving authority. But the one who is going to give are these gods, the deities. Okay. So, because the orders of the Guru are obeyed by even the God. If the Guru orders, the God will definitely emancipate even the dull and the foolish persons. This is very, very interesting. So this morning in Tripura Rahasyam, my Krishna Guruji taught a very beautiful lesson. Why is a disciple or a devotee or any individual cannot listen to the words of the Guru, what the Guru is speaking or whatever he's teaching? Why can't they listen? And there were three important aspects: mental impression, desires, then came anger. Then the most important thing that Dattatreya, that is Tripura herself, was explaining, which is the dullness of the mind. Now, how does the dullness of the mind come in? Dullness of the mind comes in because we have done a lot of wrongdoings in our previous births, and it is only because of the karma. Now, here also is saying the gods will definitely emancipate even the dull and the foolish persons. But when will they emancipate? Only when you have absolute faith at the lotus feet of your Gurudev. Now again, this is the most important thing. Now see, the problem here is, see, everybody says, yes, I am devoted to the Guru. But devotion like what? See, everybody is coming into spiritual only with some desires. The root cause of seeking God will be, that we are suffering in our world. Why do you go to temple? Why do you go to ask? Ask this question to yourself. When do you go to God? When do you seek Him intently? It is only when you are suffering in your material world. You might be having money problems, you might be having job problems, you might be having problems with your husband, your children, your wife, your in-laws, you name it. You are frustrated with your job, your managers in the company, your colleagues in the company, or you're suffering with some sickness, or you have some debt. You name it. All these material worldly sufferings and miseries make you go to God. For what? To seek solace in your life, to seek answers for some questions. And you're seeking that there are some questions which is rankling you and you don't get the answers. So you turn to God. Now, when you go there, you're going with your desires. So what my Gurudev was saying is that when you sit in a satsang, but the foundation of, learning this knowledge is, underlying current is that so-called desires, then the words of the Guru doesn't enter us. This was a very powerful lesson. Many a time, my Guruji will say, Rajma, you have to be very compassionate. The person is not understanding what you're saying. And I have never got this. And this was the first few times it really entered into me that the person in front of me, no matter how much I am speaking, is not able to comprehend what exactly I am saying. That understanding is not happening within that person. Simply because this knowledge is not entering, because there is desires. The purity of heart and mind is not there. And there's the ability to learn knowledge, is based, not the ability, they are learning the knowledge, they're getting the knowledge, or they're hearing or listening with the foundation of desires. The undercurrent is that. So what my Guruji was teaching is that, so when you are learning whatever scriptures, the first thing is you have to give up desires. But also what he said was, as you keep learning this, as your devotion grows, what happens is when you keep getting this knowledge, the desires keep falling off automatically. Means you have to make effort, no doubts about it, but you have to let go. You have to let go of all the desires that you have. The desire of saying, I need to have a peaceful life, the desire of having, whatever, disease-free life, the desire of so many things. Now I want a house, all these desires, whatever might be desire, including the desire for liberation, you have to give it up. So when you give those desires and you understand there is no truth in this material world, there is no truth in anything at all. And this morning my Guruji very beautifully explained. See, we all, look at truth from a very narrow point of view. If you look at everybody, they are right from their perspective. It is their point of view or in their opinion. And that also depends on the environment, the knowledge that they have, the kind of influence that they have, all that depends. And that knowledge, whatever that they have, is only from that material point of view and their point of view. The truth is very different. Truth is far off. But who can give you the direct experience of the truth? It is only your Gurudev. Nobody else can give you that. Now, when you meet the master, when you come to the Guru, now what does the Guru give you? He starts giving you the stories, he starts giving you knowledge, and he, slowly opens you up to a world. He starts breaking your pink color glasses. And whatever you believed is the truth in life, all those starts getting destroyed. And then what happens? The truth, reveals. The truth is standing in front of you. So you you start understanding the truth. And when you understand the truth, then you realize all these desires which you had has no value. The things that you were running after, the job that you seem to have, the husband, the wife, the children, the everything that you felt is yours, you own, this is mine, the people, places and things. You start disowning all of those things. And what is the most important thing you will start learning there? It's called dispassion, and detachment comes in. So when you start becoming detached, and then your attachment grows for the God, to knowing the truth, your attachment grows in devotion to the Guru. And when this starts growing, then the ability to understand the Guru's words happens from the scripture. So because what happens is, whenever he's saying anything, you're only hearing. And that hearing also is based on your mind's ability, because you have a lot of mental impressions. And your mind is talking too much. It's making judgments, it's trying to question, and a lot of these things happen. So it's not allowing you to listen. the exact words what the guru is giving you, telling you. And that knowledge doesn't get imbibed in the way how the guru is explaining to you, because your mind is already talking too much. So your ability to absorb that knowledge also is very limited, because you're using your mind to understand. You can't use your mind here, because mind is only see, your mind has full of mental impressions, and when you're using that yardstick to understand the spiritual knowledge, it's never going to happen. So you will never understand the truth in the way how the guru has imparted that knowledge to you, because everything is based on your mental impressions. And the next is, it's all about desires. And the third thing is more dullness of the mind. And the dullness of the mind happens because of your past karmas also. But what happens when you have this faith and devotion to the guru, even the gods, what happens with the love of the guru? The gods will emancipate even the dull and the foolish ones, foolish persons. That is exactly what happens. That is exactly what my Guruji was saying. It is just the love. See, there are a lot of autistic children in life, okay? And they cannot comprehend anything. They don't have mind per se. They don't even know, and they cannot reason. Their intellect doesn't function. Now what happens is just that love for the guru. When they meet, that goodness of heart, when they show, the love that they show, that itself gives them a redemption for their next life. And when that is only when they come in contact with the guru. And those who come in the contact with the guru, it's not for everybody. So whenever the guru meets such children, he redeems them. That's what it means. They emancipate even the dull and the foolish persons. But the criteria is who has utter devotion. Devotion is the most important. And please understand, even in these children, some children might not like to be with the guru. They might not like. If you say to do certain things, they will not do. So such children, you say do this, he's a guru. So if a parent is teaching and the child doesn't obey, then the devotion will not come in. So that grace to receive, the child also has to be in devotion. Means he has to have something to connect with the guru. I'm not saying they have to have full devotion. Just that bond has to be formed. And if that bond doesn't exist, then this doesn't work. So let us continue. God obeys those who serve the Guru as Brahman. God gives them always the joy of self-realization. Thus, God do not disobey the wishes of the Guru. Very beautiful. So what is he saying here? He's saying God obeys those who serve the Guru. They're always adhin. Adhin means they are at their beck and call. To the devotees, those who serve the Guru. That is what even Krishna Paramatma is saying. You're going to learn this in depth. And as Brahman, Brahman means Paramatma. The Para-Brahman he is. God gives them always the joy of self-realization. Who gives? God gives them the joy of self-realization. How does it work? See, understand, they also have to support you from within, because your entire body, the 33 crore gods and goddesses are there within you, and they all have to support you to evolve to attaining God realization, which means it is only when you have the devotion will they work with you. No, otherwise they will work against. This itself tells you very clearly. So you have to be very careful. Then if the guru orders, the gods will definitely Thus gods do not disobey the wishes of the guru. Anything the guru wishes, the gods will immediately obey his order and they will do the needful. The next one, the god abides by the wishes of the guru, and the guru also glorifies the god, and thus both of them together become liberators of the faithful people. This is again beautiful. What is he saying? He's saying God abides by the wishes of the guru, and the guru also glorifies the god. They're both one, right? So guru is giving knowledge to you all. Who is God? And why do we need to worship him? What is the truth about God? So that is what he's giving. So he's glorifying the Lord. Likewise, the God also abides. They will never go against the wishes of the guru. So please understand, know this very well. The gods are never going to go against the wishes of the guru. So you have to be extremely careful. Then, what does he say? And thus both of them together become the liberators of the faithful people. You have to underline this word, faithful. It is only with faith can you attain the devotion to the guru. It is only with faith can you evolve on this path. It is only with faith everything will happen. But if that faith drops, then nothing is going to work in your life. And that's why the faith in the Guru is the most important one. That is why it says, right, when the disciple is worshipping the Guru with great faith, the mind of the disciple automatically becomes pure. So the devotion grows. It's only with the pure mind will the devotion grow. So the purity of your heart, the purity of your mind, and surrender to the Guru is the most important thing for the faith to grow. And then devotion to come in. So what is he saying? Therefore, those who without having any faith in their mind make an outward show of devotion go down and down according to their bad thoughts and suffer greatly. This is very, very important, especially for those who are on the path of spiritual, and especially for those who have a Guru. This is a very important lesson. What is he saying? Those who without having any faith in their mind make an outward show of devotion. There are a lot of people, they just fake, oh, that I am very devoted, I love my Guruji. It's just that outward show. But what do they have? They have no faith in their mind. And then what do? When they show an outward show, you're just putting on something. It's not truth. It is not truth at all. And you just make an outward show of having devotion to the Guru. Then what happens? They go down and down according to their bad thoughts and suffer greatly. So, Buddha says, right, your thoughts determine who you become. Simple as that. So it's what you think in the mind is exactly what will happen to you. See, please understand, a Guru is not some ordinary human being. We are not talking about all these fancy gurus in the world who call themselves a guru and Babajis, doing all show in the stage, dancing and all the nonsensical things. I am not at all talking. I am talking about the real master. Now, when you come in front of this master, kindly do not fake. There are a lot of people who just talk fake things. The next is they are hypocrite, and they behave in a hypocritical manner, and then you try to make a show of your devotion. This is not you're going for some networking event, or you're going to meet your friends or this so-called people in the material world. You go for these parties and all these nonsensical things where people all fake. They're all hypocrites to the highest order. And nobody is speaking any truth over there. Everybody is hiding, they have this false, they paint their face and come and they'll talk all nonsensical things, fake to the core. Now, here, when you meet the God, you will actually reflect yourself, because he's going to show you who you truly are. So when you meet the real master and the God, kindly do not put a show of your devotion, because the truth will be out. And how? Sometimes the Guru is not going to point out to you. He'll also play along. If you are being an hypocrite, he'll also just try to act along that. But what happens to you? What does it happen? He says, when they make an outward show of devotion, they go down and down according to their bad thoughts. So whatever is your bad thought, whatever is your way of thinking, you will go down in the ranks and then suffer greatly. And what kind of suffering will come? Nobody has an idea, because the Guru himself doesn't do anything. It is as per your own, the thoughts. So who gives you that suffering? Maya gives you that suffering. So kindly do not do this kind of outward show and all that. You have to be very truthful. See, understand, we are going to somebody who's a Sachidanand. He is truth, consciousness or knowledge and bliss. When you are meeting the Paramatman, kindly do not fake. This is not your material world. You are not even entering your friend's home or your father's home or your mother's home or your in-laws place. This is not even your relative's home. Yes, he's your only relative. You are entering a Guru's ashram. And what is the word? Ashram means what? When you come and take refuge at the feet of the Guru, you are coming there to take refuge. And number two meaning of ashram means you are coming there to put effort. Shram means what? Service. You have to serve the Guru. It is called Guru Bhakti and Guru Seva. You are coming there because of the devotion to the Guru, that is the Bhakti, and to do service to the Guru, so that you can attain God realization, so that you can be emancipated, so that you can grow in your, you can destroy your karma, your sins and everything else. That is the only reason why you are coming there. It is not to enjoy over there. It is not to, trying to behave like you are coming, visiting somebody's, your home. No. You are coming here to discipline yourself. You are coming here to evolve on your path. When you come, to learn under the master, you're coming there to overcome all your tendencies. You're coming there to destroy your sins. That is the only reason why you're coming there. It's God's home. And that is your real home. Because it is Vasudev Kutumbam. So the ashram means this. Ashram doesn't mean what you believe in the material world. So kindly do not do any outwardly show. Do not fake. You have to always speak the truth in front of the Guru. Even if he's going to say something to you, doesn't matter. Never hide anything from him. Never speak lies. Never be an hypocrite. Kindly never do all of these things. It is very dangerous for your spiritual growth. Next, they go to inhuman levels of life. They lose the Atman and they miss the great opportunity of realization of Brahman. By hypocrisy, the devotion to Hari can never be had. Oh my God. So he's brought this another interesting word called hypocrisy, which we already discussed. So what is Eknath Maharaj saying? They go to, what is the suffering that happens? He's just giving a little glimpse. They go to inhuman levels of life. That means terrible. Then they lose the Atman. You can never ever get the Atman, means the self. You can't even attain any of those things. You lose that opportunity. And they miss the great opportunity of realization of Brahman. So you miss the boat. You can never get back that opportunity ever again. By hypocrisy, the devotion to Hari can never be attained. So being a hypocrite, you can't attain any devotion to Hari. No matter how much you speak, what you do, nothing works here. So most important is truth. Very important. And faith, surrender, unconditional pure love and exclusive devotion matters. Don't use your mind here. Don't try to portray who you are not. Because the Guru knows everything. You can't hide behind anything. You become naked. That is why it is told you have to go naked. Isn't that the beautiful example of Krishna Bhagavan telling the gopis, what does he do? The gopis are having bath at the Yamuna river. Krishna Bhagavan is sitting on top of the tree. And then he sees the gopis' clothes there. So what does he do? He, takes all the clothes and goes away. And he puts it on, the tree, top of the tree. And he's playing his flute. So the gopis tell Krishna Bhagavan, Krishna, please return our clothes. We are feeling ashamed. He says, sorry, please come out. What does it mean? Come out naked. And then they try to cover themselves like this. And then he says, sorry, raise your hands up. In the Namaskar pose, said, raise your hands up. What does that mean? It doesn't mean the way you think. If you think like, oh, Krishna Bhagavan, asking the gopis to come naked. What kind of a God he is. That's how human beings talk. That's your pettiness. The spiritual meaning is that when he says that, it means give up your ego, arrogance, pride, ahankara, that thing of I, that I am this body. You come with absolute purity. When you become naked, you are truth incarnate. At that time, there is nothing to hide from you. Your heart is full of purity. You have full of devotion, exclusive devotion to Krishna Paramatman. There is nothing that you are going to hide. There is no bodily shame there. That's like, I am the body. You know that you are not the body. You are that Atman. That is the truth over there. And he says, lift your hand up and come. Give up all these, kanchukas. Kanchukas is all those things that you're holding up. And come with absolute devotion, complete surrender, unconditional pure love and exclusive devotion. That is absolute faith. Come with that and then surrender to him. You have to go naked in front of the God. They should not have any kind of deceit, self-conceit, hypocrisy, nothing. There's nothing to hide. You are pure. That is the purity of your heart you need to have. And then when the gopis go and they surrender, that is when Krishna Bhagavan promises to them that I will perform the Ras Leela with you. And then the gopis surrender to him. What does that mean in the Adhyatmic world? The Jivatma, that is the Jiva, surrenders to the Paramatman. When you understand that you are none of this, then you surrender and then you become one with the Atman. There is no duality. So that is why there was no duality between the gopis and Krishna Bhagavan. They were in complete oneness with him because their bhakti was the highest. They could see Krishna Bhagavan in everything. They might be serving their husband, they might be feeding their children, they might be doing their work, but lost in Krishna Bhagavan alone. How much of Krishna Bhagwan do you think every day when you're serving your husband? Are you thinking of Krishna Bhagwan, or are you thinking of anything other than that? Do you think of your children, or do you think of Krishna Bhagwan? You are focused in your world, but where is the thoughts of Krishna Bhagwan? But the gopis were like that. They would do all the work in their world, but lost in oneness with Krishna Bhagwan. They were doing everything but in devotion to Krishna Bhagwan. When Krishna Bhagwan would come back in the evening, with his all the cows and everything, with the gopas in the evening, and when he starts playing his flute, the gopis will drop everything and they will run to him to dance to the tune of this flute. And they are not ashamed, they are not afraid, because they know who they are in love with. It is called bhakti. In the material world, people will look at it from the crass relationship. What did yesterday Eknath Maharaj say here? You are born, he says something, the worldly mother and father gives us birth through their lower organs. And that is the attitude the human beings have. They look at all these things as a wrong thing. How can anybody describe the devotion of a gopi to Krishna Bhagwan? It's so beautiful. In one of the chapters, he's going to explain. Eknath Maharaj has given a very beautiful commentary of gopis' love to Krishna Bhagwan. What kind of devotion did they have? They were not afraid of anybody, not their husband, nor their mother-in-law, father-in-law, nobody in this world, because they were devoted to Krishna Paramatma. When you are in love with God, who in this world can stop you? But that is the kind of faith you need to have. That is what he's explaining here. Devotion doesn't come by outward show. It has to come from your innermost being. You can't have fear. You can't have, I'm afraid because somebody is going to say something. What something? You're devoted to Krishna Paramatma. Who is this world? This world has no value. This world means nothing. It's just a maya. And you give importance to that world? That is very sad. So this is what you need to understand the truth, and very beautiful lesson we are going to learn in this scripture. It's very powerful. What kind of a devotee you have to be, and how do you become such a devotee is what Eknath Maharaj has commented. That is what Krishna Bhagwan has taught to Uddhava. And now Eknath Maharaj is explaining further on that, and we are going to learn such a beautiful lesson. So by hypocrisy, the devotion to Hari can never be had. The spiritual life is not possible without purity of mind. Purity of mind and faith is the highest qualification in devotion. Very simple. Every single time, the one thing that I keep saying, purity of your heart, purity of your mind, and surrender to the Guru. Till these three things doesn't happen, devotion doesn't work. Devotion doesn't come in an individual. That doesn't come at all. Why? Because this purity doesn't exist. Because we're contaminated with all the material worldly thoughts, the mental impressions that you're carrying, the mental impressions that has been created around you constantly. So you have to overcome, give up the thoughts, give up this mental impression that you carry constantly with you. Give up all that, give up your desires, surrender your life unto the lotus feet of your Guru. He takes care of you. Why are you bothered? It's such a great fortune to have a Guru in your life. This morning, my Krishna Guruji was explaining how fortunate one must be to have the relationship with this Guru, or to having met with this Guru. Even amongst that 10 people, hardly one will be able to achieve that. Why? Because we're sitting with our desires. We're so lost in that mental impression. So the knowledge is not seeping in. So do you know why it takes so many years? The first phase of your journey with your master it's minimum 12 to 14 years. And then there is a second phase of the same number of years. Then there is a third stage. It is not so easy. And that is just for one life. So how many lifetimes you need to go through this to finally reach the destination of attaining Paramatma and Krishna Bhagwan? It doesn't happen in one life. And here you are not even understanding the privilege that you have. And we take it for granted. And what happens when the Guru teaches, it's truth. So what happens, people don't like the truth because truth is bitter. And then what happens, you fall off the path. You drop halfway or wherever you are, and then leave the Guru and go away. Then when is your next journey going to be? And first of all, disowning your Guru itself is a sin. So do you think you're going to meet him so easily? You know how much of what all you have to do to finally meet the Guru in some lifetime, after many, many millions of lives? We don't even know when that will happen, because you are sinned by disowning the Guru. So the opportunity is lost. And you think the Guru is having a time to eternity, is it? His body has a limited amount of time on this planet Earth. So you have to make the best of every moment that you have with your Guru to attain your spiritual will. Not get lost in that stupid material world of yours, which has no value. It is only full of misery and sufferings. Nothing you're going to get there. On the contrary, you're going to be bound. You're going to get into all more karma, and more sins are going to be in your account. That is what you're going to earn from the material world. Whereas in spiritual world, he gives you redemption from this. Didn't he say this? What does he say? By cutting the chain of birth and deaths, thus he is the real parent. He's going to cut asunder all these things for you. He minuses out all your karma, provided you walk that path. Just mouthing I'm a devotee doesn't help here. You have to put your effort. You have to do your sadhana. You have to evolve. Till you don't do, nothing works. The Guru is, tirelessly teaching the same thing over and over and over and over again. But what are you doing? For so many years, my Guruji is giving the same knowledge. Nothing has changed. And every scripture talks the same thing. Why should we be discussing so much on the greatness of a Guru? Because an individual doesn't understand who this Guru is. That is why these lessons are there. That is why Guru Charitra is there. That is why Shripad Shri Vallabh is there. And that is why Eknath Maharaj has given an exposition to Uddhav Gita, the teachings of Shri Krishna, the last message of Shri Krishna to Uddhava. And in that also he is telling the significance of the Guru. Because without a Guru you can't attain God. And that is the truth. So you need to be very serious about this Guru being in your life and doing what is required to attain your spiritual will. So the spiritual life is not possible without purity of mind. Purity of mind and faith is the highest qualification of devotion. In case of Prahalad, when he had faith that God exists in dry wood pillar, God actually became manifest. Here Sadguru is himself God in person. How beautiful. So the kind of faith you need to have, like Bhakta Prahalad. How much of faith did he have? His father tried to kill him, and his devotion to Hari was so much that God himself went to save him in every calamity that he had. So what does Krishna Paramatma say? There shall nothing befall my devotees. I am always ever serving them, protecting them. Provided is there. You need to have devotion of this highest order. Not just mouthing, oh, I am very devoted, but you don't do anything that the Guru is asking you to do. Not follow a single instruction. And on top of it, you'll use your mind and do completely contrary to what your Gurudev has asked you to do. You will not even follow a simple instruction. Then how will the Guru work with you? No God can save you. And then what happens? Destiny takes over. And when destiny takes over, then it is extremely dangerous. So one must be very, very careful. So in case of Prahalad, when he had faith that God exists in dry wood pillar, God actually became manifest. And here the Sadguru is himself God in person. So Narsimha Avatar, when he manifested from that pillar, he is the Guru himself, because Bhakta Prahalad is only in devotion to him. So there's none other than the God himself is the Guru. That is what is being told. The Sadguru is none other than the Paramatman, not some ordinary human being. So this is the truth you need to understand, and that is the supreme truth. Therefore, there is no other easy way towards God than worship of the Guru. Really intelligent devotion or devotion coupled with knowledge is nothing else but total devotion to Sadguru. So what is being told here? Therefore, there is no other easy way towards God than worship of the Guru. Really intelligent devotion or devotion coupled with knowledge is nothing else except the total devotion to Sadguru. So here, that's the total devotion. Whether the knowledge, whether there is, worshipping God, both are him alone. The knowledge is the Guru himself. His knowledge incarnate. And he's Para Brahman as well, his God incarnate. So the knowledge and the God, both are your Sadguru alone. So there is only one devotion, and that is to the Guru alone. If we say that Brahman is greater than then Guru is given less importance. With a partial attitude, the disciple will not be able to be united with Brahman and Guru together. Very beautiful. What is he saying? He's saying, if we say that Brahman is greater than the Guru, then what happens? Then the Guru is given less importance, which means with that partial attitude, the disciple will not be able to be united with Brahman and Guru together. So which means you can't attain either God nor Brahman, the Guru and Brahman, both you cannot attain. Because you're united partially, right? Because you're saying, oh, the Guru is less, so the Brahman is the highest. So then how will you get that oneness? You can't attain, simple as that. The best service to Guru is to have loving faith that Sadguru is for us the Parabrahman. Such service with such faith makes the disciple himself as the absolute Brahman. You know, my Guruji will always say, the Paramatma, is in the palm of your hand, Rajma. But you know what? We need to have this kind of oneness. Because he himself is standing in front of us. But you even see it. We think it's a far off thing that we need to attain. No, he's right in front of us. But yet he's too far. Because we don't have that kind of faith and devotion. What is he saying? The best service. What is the best service to the Guru? Is to have loving faith that the Sadguru is for us the Parabrahman himself. That conviction you need to have. Till you don't have that conviction, you know what people do? They will come to my Guruji, but they will go and do all sorts of temple visits. They will go and pray to all sorts of deities. They will go and do all sorts of puja, part means all sorts of rituals, sacrifice, whatever, all the things they will do. Then why are you coming to the Guru? The day you meet your Guru, he becomes your Vasudev Kutumbam. You become a Guru Putra or Guru Putri. And then you have to follow the ways of your Gurudev. Not your material, nonsensical things which you have learned from your parents, ancestors, who themselves have no knowledge and doing everything wrong. So this thing doesn't exist. So the disciple has to follow the ways of the Guru. And if you don't do so, then you are not doing justice and nothing will work in your life. So the best service to the Guru is to have a loving faith that the Sadguru is for us the Parabrahman. Such service with such faith makes the disciple himself as the absolute Brahman. Prahlad became free of all dualities by such service to Guru. And Narada also, being united with Brahman, now wanders at his will in a state of joy throughout the regions of gods and demons alike. By such devotion to Guru and God, Ambrisha could escape reincarnations as God himself went through them. God prevented his suffering of repeated worldly lives. We have done this story. You will also learn the story in Srimad Bhagavatam. So I'm not going to tell you who Ambrisha is. And the reason why the Dashavatar came into existence is because of Ambrisha. When Durvasa Maharishi Muni was about to curse Ambrisha, Vishnu Bhagwan will come there and says, please, he didn't do anything wrong. I will accept the curse. Spare Ambrish, his devotee. So then he will be that because of that curse, Lord Hari takes this Dashavataram. That is how this Dashavatar comes into existence. There's a beautiful story which we will be learning in Srimad Bhagavatam. So I'm not going to go in detail right now. So I will 2 more verses and we'll finish this. Next, those who are devotees of the feet of the Guru with a conviction about the unity of the Guru and the God are really wise. And the God Janardana loves them. He does not allow the concept of worldliness to touch their minds. How beautiful. So who is Janardhan here? Janardhan Swami is the Guru of Eknath Maharaj. So what is he saying? He's saying those who are devotees of the feet of the Guru with a conviction about the unity of the Guru and the God are really wise. And the God Janardana loves them. He does not allow the concept of worldliness to touch their minds. But such devotion is so important to the lotus feet of your Gurudev. Till you don't have such devotion, such faith, the worldly things will keep touching you. Maya will keep disturbing you. For you to transcend or, overcome Maya, this is the most important thing which we have to follow. So Guru and Brahman are one. And the disciple is also of the nature of Brahman. The sage Kavi said that those who believe in separateness of God and the Guru are bound by Maya. Simple as that. When you understand that the God is none other than your Gurudev, the Paramatman, who is very much incarnated and he's in front of you imparting this knowledge, when this belief and this faith is, when you have this absolute faith and conviction within yourself, and that day, Maya will stop troubling you. But if you do not have this faith and you are afraid in the world, oh, what are people going to say to if I'm in spiritual and doing this and doing that, Maya is going to become stronger in your world. And your faith in your Guru will dwindle. It will keep reducing. We also learned, that how you go down on the path. Very easy to go down, but very difficult to rise. And this opportunity, one should understand, it is priceless. You can't put any price tag to what you have. So value it. And when you have such a great divine master himself, the Lord Almighty with you, do not lose this opportunity. Go after attaining your spiritual will and overcome this Maya. Understand, the sage Kavi said that those who believe in the separateness of God and Guru are bound by Maya. Understand, your Guru is the Lord Almighty. Don't think there is God separate and there is Guru separate. No. He is God himself. Paramatman, Guru Sakshat Parabrahman. Never ever forget this. So with that, we have completed chapter 2, verse 77. So tomorrow, in the next class, we will start with verse 78 or it's saying 38. Oh, sorry. Yes, 37 and this is 38. Yep. Thank you for joining Shri Eknathi Bhagwat Satsang. Have a good day and good evening to you all. God bless.
Recording